Yeah folks, welcome back to Delboy's Garage. Hope you liked the pipe wrap the other day. It's looking good. Not so sure I like the colour. It's a little bit kind of beige, and as I said, only hearing aids are beige, but I'm not sure. I'm just going to leave it for a while. I can't unpaint it if I change my mind, so I'm going to wait. There's no rush, and they are kind of working well. They're kind of crunchy when you've ridden it and they get hot, so they're kind of running in, bedding in quite nicely. Hasn't frayed or gone anywhere. Nice little job. Anyway, today I'm thinking about the next little task. I'm thinking side mount, because this is an iron, and fortunately the iron and the Nightstar and I think the 48 and a few others, they kind of have these rather brill side light come tail light come indicators all in one. You don't have to have a backlight in the middle, so you can have a naked fender. My mate Kerry put this on and fitted it because he just wanted a black plate and wanted it in the middle. But if you kind of have a look, if you take a straight line through there, you can see it's cockeyed anyway. It's off to the left as you face forward, so it's kind of not been measured and it's not been drilled in the right place. And that really bothers me. Keep swearing I'm not OCD, but that kind of thing drives me insane. I can't stand something that's cockeyed. I've measured where it should be and it's half a hole off, so I can't even drill a hole in the right place and weld up the other holes. It's kind of only half a hole, so that is coming off. It's a black plate anyway, which is just asking for trouble. Shouldn't have a black plate if it's not 73 or before, so I'm going to go back to a yellow plate, and I'm thinking side mount. This is not the plate, this is the old number off my old bike. So just using that as a sizer, I'm going to go up that way and do the numbers. It'll be 2, 2 and 3. So they kind of go LX, 10, 80k. So it's a straight upright plate. And I want to snug it in right here. There are a couple of side mounts you can get. There's a rather trick one that bolts onto these two mount points here. Kind of hangs down underneath and flips out on a hinge for some odd reason. Why on earth you'd have it hinged is beyond me, but that's a bit of kit you can buy, and it's quite expensive. There is a massive big tin thing that kind of is like a garage door hanging on the side of your bike. That's wrong as well, because it doesn't really start till out here, and I want to snug it in closer. Where I want the eventual plate is I want it kind of right in there, kind of snugged in nice and close, and aesthetically when you look at the bike, I want it here in the middle underneath this light. I don't want it out to one side or in. You know, it may be a side mount, but I want that symmetry of it sitting neatly under that light in the center. So as ever, I'm going to fabricate my own, and it's just going to be a simple piece of sheet metal. Looking at what I need to do, I think it's just going to be the easiest thing in the world to bolt through that. Take the nut off. That's a big massive mount. There's a washer there. There is about 3 or 4 threads left, so there would be no problem with putting a little piece of 3mm sheet or 2mm sheet in there, if necessary, bit of plate, and take the washer away so it's kind of in there. Use that as a support so it doesn't go anywhere, and then just fold it. So there's a piece of sheet metal there. Fold a nice 90-degree fold so it sits to the side. It seems quite easy. Going to try and make something a bit nicer of it though. Perhaps do some detail work or a nice hood over the top. As far as a number plate light is concerned, going to have one, but thankfully these come, when you get them, they've got a plasticky thing here which hangs right down. Defeats the object of a cut up fender really, but it's there, and it has a little number plate light, and that has a wire, and that wire is just up here. The mate's just chopped it off and neatly tucked it to one side, waterproofed it out of the way. So I've just got to access that wire, run it up through, and then I can run a little tiny white LED straight down onto it. Again, I don't have to have a tail light on it because I've got them in these, which is great. And then I can free up the back of this, weld up the holes. I want to put a flange around there because I don't like this cut raw edge. It looks ridiculous and cheap. And then I can start, once I've welded all the holes up and done the bodywork on the fender, I continue with my paintwork, because the shiny side panels means that, you know, the next colour's coming. So there we are. The first fabrication job always starts with a template, which is a cardboard packet, a little bit of cereal packet and pencil, and a little bit of thinking. There it is. I'm not going to bore you with it all. I'm just going to make a template, have a little play, show you what I've done in a minute. Right, first thing, taken off wheel nut washer. You have to release that to get a 32mm or 1.25" socket in there. So now I've got to measure, I've got to get a print, an imprint of this, because I want to put a hole there and a hole there, and the two holes in tandem will effectively give strength and stop it from rotating. If it's just on one, it can just rotate round, and that can also cause looseness to the wheel nut, because it's quite a point of torque. So if it's bolted on the two, if I get it bolted in under there as well, that also works. So, little trick to get that hole size correct for the template. Show you. What you've got to do is use the wheel nut itself. It's usually greasy. That makes your print. Just take a potato print. You must remember that from school. And when you've got the print, that's your hole. That's the hole you're going to need. But you just drill it a bit smaller. Then if it's not quite, you can file it out. You can't undrill a hole, so always start bigger. Now I'm just going to come around there to give myself as much meat as I need. Just freehand drawing the template out. Just thinking of the fact the other hole's about here somewhere. So looking at it from the side, there's your wheel nut and there's your shock mount about there. So kind of going to go, just give myself plenty, being my own light. And just going to come there, to be honest, because this is then going to form, might just come up a bit higher. I'm just going to cut that out, and then there's a method of working out precisely where that hole is in relation to that one, and I'll show you. Now there's a hole just ready to be the start point, centre of the job, and that just fits neatly in situ. And I want to make an impression where this hole is, and again I can't get a pen in the back there to draw around, so just push in where it is and kind of, again back to school, you can take a rubbing. There you go. I was doing this in graveyards when I was a kid. That's it, you get a little impression of where the hole is. And then we can take that off, back to the bench. See, these two faces are at different heights, and not, if I could pack this out, then you're not going to quite get a full nut on the wheel nut, and that's just not an option. So quite simply, you're going to cut the top hole bigger, put that on, and that will then go neatly over there. So when the wheel nut's on, obviously that will hold it quite brill, and it will only go on a little bit onto this knuckle, and then that will still bolt in situ. There's a little spacer. So that goes in through there, and that's pretty much where that's bolted. So obviously that's still going to push in at the top, so I need to probably bring it off here. So quick pen, what I'm going to do, rather than fold that, which I think is a bit of a lame way to do it, I'm probably going to cut it there and then put a bracket and triangulate something a bit stronger. But for now, that clearly seems that it's not going to go in there flush, and I want that flush. So it's just a case of marking where the shock is. Give me an idea of where the obstacle is when I take it off. That's it. Okay, that's made the bracket so far look half decent. Now the next thing is to get a fold into this. Everything's bolted up where it should be, so the shock's at the correct angle. Now obviously when I get the plate, I want the plate to follow the line of the shock exactly for sort of symmetry and just looking right. So the little fold that I put in here now has to fold exactly. Just mount this a sec. See what I mean? That's it. Now that has to follow that line. So holding that correct, very simple. Just mark along there, and then that will be the fold, the angle of fold, and the amount here, because I don't need it obviously clattering on the spring. When it's moving, it's got to have about 3/4 of an inch of clearance, and at the same time I need it to give me, because I want it symmetrical, I want it central underneath that light. So I've just got some measuring to do to get the angles all correct, quite an important part of it, and see if I can get everything lined up right, because that fold, where it is sort of as per that, and sort of where it is that way, the plane and the depth, that's quite crucial to it sitting correct at the end, or sitting cockeyed and skewed. So let's get some measurements. I need kind of both hands, and let's see what I can do. Alright, there's the bracket. That's what's going to bolt it to the bike in that 90-degree fashion. It's ended up being a bit odd, but that's a piece which has not been shaped yet or anything. It's that bit that's important. So now it's just the backing for the plate, and I've got a little bit of a plan for a hooded top, which I've done in the past on another side mount I made. So it looks quite smart, and I'm going to use one of these 7x5 inch plates upright. So it's just a case at the moment of drawing around it, a bit proud to give space for grinding and stuff, and time for trimming. And the top, really, I'm just going to come up about an inch probably, to make a bit of a hood over the top of it. And the hood's there really just to guard the light, because it's going to have a little light on it. That's the legal requirement, little number plate light. So I want to hide that underneath and put a little hood out with holes in, a bit like a sort of Lakes hot rod styly. Bit sad, I suppose, but might as well put some style into it if you're going to make it. That's the general idea. So that's going to be the back plate. So let's just cut that out. That wasn't a very scientifically drawn ellipse, but it will do for now, and I'll measure it when I get to the steel stage. It's just a shape. There you go. It's handy. Make it everything you do, anything you try and fabricatify, you want to make it in cardboard first, because if it's pants you can just throw it in the bin. So that's cool. There it is. That's going to be roughly the design when it's finished. Pretty straightforward. Try and get it in camera, and there's a lot of work to do on it yet, but that is the idea. And then you can deconstruct, lay flat, draw around on the steel, start cutting your steel out. But making it in cardboard and getting it on the bike first is important. So, some tape. Actually, that curve is just rubbish. I'm better if I'd done it facing backwards. There you go. Ready. Again, that height, don't really know yet, so I'm going to go to the bike and determine that, where it's going to stick on. I guess it doesn't matter at the moment, to be honest, because it'll be when I come to weld it, that will get welded on there, tack, 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 and then a little triangulate piece, perhaps some of those rods that I got left over from that plate rack I cut up. That will make something a little bit ornate, dunno. That's all for later on, but this is just a case of getting something stuck together for now. So here it is. That's it. Sort of bolted on in its position, and that's it. That's the pretty much mocked up brand fibre flakes version of the mount. That's going to look alright. Looks a bit bigger than I thought it might, but I guess that's drawn round the plate, so when the plate's on there it will look a bit better. So now I've got to get this back onto the bench, get it pulled to bits, and then start to cut it out in steel. And the moment I drew, dun dun dun. Careful with it. 2 hands really. There it is. One template. Mocking anything up in cardboard is always best, certainly cheapest. Now I've got to get some steel. Here we go. Start drawing it out. Got plenty of metal for it. So let's get some steel cut. See if we can make the component parts. Right, first stage. They're all drawn out. Templates. Just draw around them onto the steel, and you can cut them out. Just go, when you go outside, remember that when you do your template, if you want exactly the same size, you've drawn around the template, so your pen is a bit outside it. So when you cut, I'm not cutting proud and then grinding back. I'm going to use jigsaw today, just because I can, and I got one, and I think it's a bit easier than all that grinding. There's long lines. You're going to cut dead on the line, and you're going to get just a little tiny bit to trim up, so you don't have to waste too much metal. Got a little extra bit here, which I'm planning to be a kind of little hood thingy to go around the top, which you'll see the point when it gets done. I did one of those before, it looks quite smart, and that's the all-important bracket. I've changed the profile there, that's how it is, but I might as well make that square and a bit longer. The only reason it's that shape is that I cut it that shape, but where that fold is, I brought it in so it's straight on the metal, and I can bore those holes out afterwards. Okay, so let's get some cutting done. There you go. That's the 3 pieces cut out. Okay. Right, so as you can see, jigsaws are a little bit cleaner and grinder. A lot less fuss. I think I'll use that more often. Searching in the old conservatory of doom, I just had a look around and found it. Had it years, and I used it twice. Brilliant. Metal blade, high speed, pin it all down. That's what happens. You can cut out nice bits of sheet. They're all pretty much to shape, and they're flat, and they're virtually, literally, almost free of burrs. I'm going to be using that a lot more often. That's a little headpiece, and there's a little headpiece to be curved. I'm going to clean these up now because they look a bit rusty and manky, as is the old sheet that's on the floor. Right, just looking at that, this lap wheel is dead. It's shiny. That's not doing anything. It's just kind of polishing the rust. So it's smoother now, feels good, but it's not doing the job. It's not grinding the rust out. So I'm going to get a new lap wheel tomorrow in the old surplus shop when I go to work, and tomorrow night I'll be able to just grind that nice and shiny, and then it's a case of welding it together really. That there is the little cap that's going to get curved and go on the top, and that's the bracket for the back, and I'll be strengthening it all up with some little bits of rod and bar just to make it quite a bit of beef so it works and it doesn't flop about. Okay, so I can't do any more tonight. I've got to get a decent lap wheel, and it's already 10 o'clock, or 20 to 10. It's getting pretty dingy out there. Doesn't look it on camera, but it is. It's quite dull now. So I'm going in. That's all for one night. Thanks for tuning in and watching Delboy's Garage. As ever, I always appreciate your support. Thanks ever so much, and I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.